warning before you listen. This epic is not for children, nor for the faint of heart. We retell the ancient Greek myths as they were born, unfiltered, unsoftened. Scenes of violence, curses, betrayals, and a hunger for power that shows no mercy. Given the many conflicting versions of the Titan War, the events have been rebuilt to complete the missing pieces. Here, we tell the myth as it was meant to be told. Sources and references are listed in the episode description.
Chapter 83. The Sundering of the Storm, when the brothers did not march to battle, but to judge time itself. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, when war fronts become altars of vengeance. The earth was not prepared for this. The sky wasn't waiting. But when divinity rose, time lost its right to hesitate. There were no drums inside the stronghold, no horns, only the ground igniting beneath their feet, as if the world itself knew. What now walks upon it is no longer godhood, but fate in the shape of men. Zeus stood still. Hades met his gaze. Poseidon stepped forward. Their eyes spoke, not with silence, but with a threat that simmered beneath their skin. Zeus stepped ahead, then turned to them both. We are not heading into battle. We are the slaughter yet to come. Hades smiled, a cold, deathless curl. The graves, he said. We've been digging since the first time they tried to strangle us. Poseidon stripped off his cloak like shedding the final shackle. I won't be content with drowning them, he said. I'll drown the wound itself. The stronghold cracked open down its spine, not because a gate swung open, but because this departure was carved by rage, not stone. Zeus was the first to emerge. The golden aura didn't trail him. It surrounded him like lightning forever testing itself. His eyes didn't glance at the earth. They judged the sky for its silence. He raised his arm and declared, Hyperion, you may be the sun, but I decide when dawn is allowed to rise. Then came Poseidon. Each footstep fractured the air, as though the sky itself recoiled from his face. His trident wasn't in his hand. It was pulsing in his gaze. He roared, Perses, Thaumas, I don't want the sea. I want to turn it into ash. Then came Hades. He wasn't seen, he was felt. For a moment, everyone inside the stronghold choked. Even the shadows bowed. His aura was crimson and black, as if the underworld had opened its mouth and from it exhaled a breath called vengeance. He spoke without opening his lips. Caius, Erebus, I do not fight. I sentence you with fire. The path split. Each brother took his own. But with every step the earth recorded a confession that the world would fracture into 3 fronts, and that those who did not die would spend the rest of their lives remembering this day, with pain that would never fade. In the sky the storm didn't explode, but the horizon began to turn red. A strange glow stirred behind the clouds, as if Hyperion was dragging the sun by its neck, not to illuminate, but to incinerate anyone who dared arrive before dawn. On the other side, Zeus was rising without wings, but the lightning moved ahead of him, etching a path through the heavens, a path no one else was allowed to walk, no cries, no flashes. But the air itself began to tremble, as if it hadn't yet decided whom to obey. The sky was on the verge of swearing loyalty, but for now it simply breathed, between 2 storms, awaiting the first thunderbolt to scream. On the land, the earth groaned under the weight of what approached. It hadn't yet cracked, but it was splitting on the inside, as if it knew what was about to emerge. No fire had appeared, but smoke had already begun to leak from the veins of stone. It was a sign the rocks could not misread. Hades was near. Caius walked from the opposite end, like a man whispering in stone's ear, teaching it how to collapse on its own. He did not rush, for in his mind, demolition begins
in stillness. As for Erebus, he was not seen. But the air began to vanish on either side of the road. The shadows trembled, as if they sensed someone watching, who could not be watched in return. And in the sea, some waves stopped suddenly, not because the wind had died, but because something in the deep had changed. Poseidon had not yet arrived, but he had come close enough to make the tide forget its own rhythm. His stare sliced the water before he touched it. His trident still slumbered, but the ocean was preparing to be stabbed. From the opposite edge, Perseus left behind a trail of sparks that refused to fade. Silent, as though fire itself knew this was not a pyromancer, but a judge. Thomas did not summon a storm. He was training the wind how to stab without being seen. They had not met yet, but the land had begun to dig itself. The sea was starting to stare into its own reflection, and the sky was choosing its final color. 3 fronts, 3 brothers unlike any others, and in each front a vow of slaughter that would never be forgotten.
This chapter of the epic has come to an end, but remember, what you've just heard is not a record of facts, but the echo of a myth, a story born from the imagination of the ancients, etched into the long memory of humankind. If this tale stirred something in you, if it opened a door to reflection or wonder, don't forget to support the channel and share the journey with those you love. And in the comments, tell us which moment in this chapter struck you the most and why. We'll meet again in the next chapter of this audio odyssey through time. Until then, farewell.